So welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to explain about the concept of database. So as you can see in our previous class, I explained the concept of database and I explained what is SQL. And I told you that look at database like a memory where we can be able to store information. But SQL is a type of database that we need to store that information in a tabular format, just like this one. You have like something like name, age, for example, maybe GPA. .0 theta 19 and 0. So this is the example of SQL database, which is structured query language. So these are the things what we call field. We call them fields. This is how SQL store information. For example, you can create an application where you store the name of the user, the age of the user, and then its GPA. So in that case, you're going to use SQL, which is structured query language. So it's a type of database that store information in a tabular form. This is what we call the table. And inside the table, we have rows and columns. And that column at the top, we have something what we call field. And every field tells exactly what we are storing. This field is called is right as name. So which is telling us that whatever we store below this field is going to be the name of a person. Ali, Peter, Zainab, and so on and so forth. Here we write age, which means whatever we're going to write below it is going to be an age. So we write 20, 19, and so on. So if I want to retrieve the information of a single person, all these rows have something what we call ID. So if I set give me the information of ID where the ID is equals to 1. So it's going to tell me the person that has ID equals to 1, his name was Ali, is 20 years old, and he has 3.0 GPA. This is SQL database. So what about no SQL? So in this case, if I want to add something here in this field, for example, let's say I have like thousands row of information, then I want to add another field here. Maybe let's say I want to add the field called cost, for example. So if I want to add that field, I have to go back, create the field. Maybe all those persons, they have different courses. So in that case, if I add this field called course, then I have to look each one of them and specify its own course, which is going to be very painful and it's almost impossible, especially if you have like millions upon millions of student information. So how can we be able to do that in a very easy way? So in that case, we can be able to use NoSQL. So NoSQL give you flexibility instead of SQL that have a rigid rule that you have to follow. NoSQL give you a very flexible way to store information. For example, in NoSQL, here how NoSQL store information. If you are a programmer, you know dictionary, or in Java, I forget what they call it, but in Python it's called dictionary, or in JavaScript they call it JSON. So if you have something like this, all the information is being stored in JSON, which is key and value field. I have name, this is the key, this is the value, then comma, I have maybe age. So you see, this is how NoSQL used to store information. And in this case, I can take one information and add another field to it, or maybe another information, which is going to be very flexible. We can have like different amount of information, maybe thousands amount of information, but all of those information have their own way of storing that data. For example, in this JSON, I can see name and age, but maybe if I create another one, I can have more than a name and and cost. So you see, this is how NoSQL used to store information in a JSON format. So this is the difference between SQL and NoSQL. SQL is in tabular form, structure, query language, which is NoSQL is in dictionary form, which is it doesn't have a structure, it doesn't have a query language that you use to query those information. You can just retrieve it like the way you are working with JSON. So this is how NoSQL works, and this is the difference between them. And NoSQL is mostly used in an environment where they don't know exactly what to specify to store. So they can use NoSQL. Maybe this data is going to be different from this. You see, this person has name and age only, but this one has name, age, GPA, and course. And another one can have also different fields. So it depends. It depends on what you want to do. If you don't specify exactly what to store, maybe you are thinking in the nearest future your application might add another data, then NoSQL is the best option. Is the best database to use. Well, if you have a structured way of storing the information, then you have to go with SQL. So this is it, and I will look forward to see you in our next class.